The sun dipped low over the small town in New Jersey, casting long shadows across the quiet streets. I stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of simmering soup while the aroma filled the air. It was a routine I had grown accustomed to, yet each day felt increasingly hollow. My husband had been consumed by work, leaving me to navigate the silence of our home alone. The laughter and warmth that once echoed through our halls had faded into a distant memory. As I stirred, my mind wandered to moments when we shared meals at that very table, discussing our days over glasses of red wine. Now, it felt like a stage set for one. I glanced at the clock. He was late again. The thought gnawed at me, a familiar ache of neglect creeping in. I tried to shake it off, focusing on dinner preparations as if they could fill the void. Later that evening, after finishing dinner alone and cleaning up, I decided to take a walk to clear my mind. The local cafe beckoned with its warm glow and inviting scents of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods. As I entered, I caught sight of familiar faces, neighbors sharing laughter over pastries and children running around with sticky fingers from ice cream cones. Their joy felt foreign to me. I ordered a cup of chamomile tea and settled into a corner booth, watching life unfold around me. A couple nearby held hands across their table, whispering sweet nothings that only deepened my sense of isolation. My phone buzzed with a message from my husband, working late again. Sorry. The words stung more than they should have. Days turned into weeks filled with this same pattern, an empty house waiting for his return and an ever-growing desire for connection that remained unfulfilled. It was during this time that I discovered an unexpected talent for massage therapy while attending a community wellness fair. A local instructor offered classes in her cozy studio just off Main Street, surrounded by potted plants and calming music. Intrigued by the prospect of learning something new and perhaps finding solace in touch, I signed up for her course. Each session became an escape from the loneliness that enveloped me at home. The act of giving and receiving massages brought about a sense of intimacy that had long been absent in my life. One afternoon after class, as I practiced on fellow students, I felt an exhilarating rush when their tension melted away under my hands. It was a powerful reminder of how touch could bridge gaps between people, something I yearned for deeply in my own life. That weekend marked a family gathering at our home, a chance for everyone to reconnect amidst busy lives. As relatives filtered through our door with smiles and hugs, I put on my best face despite feeling like an outsider in my own skin. Laughter echoed through the rooms as stories were exchanged over cups of coffee and plates piled high with homemade pastries. Yet beneath this facade lay tension simmering just below the surface, a palpable unease that seemed to cling to every interaction. Conversations quickly shifted from light-hearted banter to pointed remarks about responsibilities or future plans gone awry. Amidst this chaos, he arrived, the stepson who had become an unexpected source of excitement in my otherwise mundane existence. He walked through the door with his easy smile and bright eyes that held secrets waiting to be uncovered. His presence ignited something within me. It was thrilling yet terrifying all at once. Later that evening, as guests mingled outside on the patio under twinkling lights strung between trees, he found me alone in the living room arranging flowers left over from dinner preparations. Our eyes met briefly before he stepped closer, a simple gesture that sent shivers down my spine. "Need help?" he asked casually, leaning against the doorway as if anchoring himself there. "Just trying to make it look nice," I replied softly, avoiding his gaze while pretending to focus on arranging petals. We exchanged light conversation about school and summer plans, nothing substantial but enough to keep the moment alive between us. As we chatted about nothing in particular, an electric current pulsed through the air. It was both exhilarating and frightening how easily we fell into rhythm together. Then suddenly came laughter from outside, a reminder of reality crashing down around us like waves against rocks on a shore too far away from here. "I should get back," he said reluctantly after another heartbeat passed between us where words hung unspoken. a silent acknowledgement of something deeper brewing beneath our exchanges. "Yeah," I murmured back while feeling inexplicably drawn toward him despite knowing better than to entertain such thoughts. As guests began leaving for the night one by one until only remnants remained, the scent of burnt candles mixed with lingering laughter, I found myself standing alone again amidst fading echoes, once more lost within myself when he reappeared just beyond view near the hallway entrance where shadows danced playfully along walls painted soft hues reminiscent of twilight skies above us, both now fading fast into darkness outside. In those fleeting moments shared between us lingered uncharted territory filled with possibilities yet untold. An undeniable spark igniting something dormant within me, yearning for connection even if it meant treading dangerously close toward forbidden paths ahead. The warmth of the candlelight flickered softly, casting gentle shadows that danced across the walls. I stood in the massage studio, my heart racing as I prepared for what felt like an uncharted journey. The scent of lavender and eucalyptus filled the air, a comforting reminder of my newfound passion for healing touch. Yet, beneath that serenity lay a tumultuous undercurrent that tugged at my conscience. He entered the room with a hesitant smile, his eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. I invited him to lie down on the massage table, my hands trembling slightly as I draped a soft sheet over him. The intimacy of this moment felt electric, each brush of my fingers against his skin sent shivers through me. I reminded myself of the boundaries that should exist between us, yet they felt increasingly blurred. As I began to knead away the tension in his shoulders, we fell into conversation. He spoke about his recent challenges at school, and I listened intently, feeling an unexpected connection grow between us. His laughter echoed in the small room, lightening the heaviness that had settled in my chest for months. We shared stories, my struggles with feeling invisible in my own home and his search for validation in a world that often overlooked him. "Sometimes it feels like no one sees me," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, understanding all too well what he meant. It's easy to feel lost when you're surrounded by people who don't really know you. In that moment, our eyes locked, and something shifted in the air around us, a magnetic pull drawing us closer. The weight of our respective loneliness seemed to dissolve into an unspoken bond. As if guided by an unseen force, our faces moved closer together until our lips met briefly, a fleeting touch that ignited something deep within me. I pulled away almost immediately, heart pounding with guilt and confusion. What had just happened? Panic surged through me as I wrestled with conflicting emotions. Desire battled against loyalty and reason. "I shouldn't have done that," I murmured, stepping back as if distancing myself could erase what had just transpired. He looked up at me with wide eyes filled with questions I was not ready to answer. "I didn't mean to." "No," I interrupted softly but firmly. "It was a mistake." Yet even as those words left my mouth, I felt another part of me yearning to bridge that gap again, to explore this connection further despite knowing how dangerous it could be. We stood in silence for what felt like an eternity before he finally broke it with a nervous laugh. Maybe we both needed that more than we'd like to admit. His admission hung heavily between us. It was true but also terrifying. In this small town where everyone knew each other's business, any slip could have devastating consequences, not just for us but for our families too. As he left the studio later that evening, I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread settling into my bones alongside exhilaration from our brief encounter. My mind raced with thoughts of betrayal. My husband's absence loomed large over everything we had shared today. What was happening? Why did this feel so right yet so wrong? Days passed since that kiss, a moment suspended in time, and yet every interaction with him felt charged now with unspoken tension. Each time he approached me during family gatherings or casual encounters around town, there was an electric current threading between us. It buzzed beneath surface conversations about mundane topics like weather or school projects. I found myself stealing glances at him during dinner or while watching television together as a family, an innocent facade masking deeper feelings simmering just below the surface waiting to erupt at any moment. Our conversations grew more intimate as well. We confided in each other about dreams and fears under starlit skies during late-night walks around town filled with nostalgia from childhood memories shared over ice cream cones at local shops bustling with laughter from families enjoying time together. Yet guilt gnawed at me relentlessly like an insatiable beast lurking within shadows, reminding me constantly of lines crossed and rules broken against familial bonds forged long ago before these feelings ever surfaced. One evening after everyone else had gone to bed early due to exhaustion from work commitments earlier in the week, I found myself alone again sitting on porch steps outside watching fireflies dance across night sky while contemplating choices made thus far along this winding path leading toward uncertainty ahead. Suddenly footsteps broke through silence behind me. It was him again, appearing unexpectedly dressed casually yet looking handsome under moonlight, illuminating features framed by dark hair tousled gently by summer breeze blowing softly around us both, creating atmosphere-filled anticipation hanging thickly around us both now. "Can we talk?" he asked tentatively, stepping closer toward where I sat perched upon those worn wooden steps leading up toward front door entrance nearby. "About what?" My voice came out steadier than expected despite racing heart pounding loudly within chest, echoing rhythmically against backdrops surrounding us both, now enveloped within cocoon created by darkness wrapping around, tightly enclosing secrets held close between two souls, longing desperately, seeking comfort amidst chaos swirling all around them. "About us." His words hung heavily between us, causing breath caught somewhere deep inside throat threatening escape if not addressed soon enough before spiraling out control, leading further down paths already fraught, danger lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently ready strike when least expected. "What do you mean?" He hesitated briefly before continuing, cautiously weighing each word, carefully chosen, carefully considering potential fallout stemming from honesty shared openly without filters, shielding truth hidden deep below surface, masking reality faced daily, living life intertwined together, bound forever through ties formed long ago. "I think there's something more here than just family connections. We connect on another level too." My heart raced faster than ever before realizing implications behind those simple words spoken aloud, revealing hidden truths long buried beneath layers, protective armor built over years spent navigating complexities life through our way, forcing adaptations necessary survive amidst challenges faced daily, trying maintain semblance normalcy despite overwhelming odds stacked against us both. "You can't mean..." "I do," he interrupted softly, leaning closer, still daring breach distance separating two hearts beating wildly within chests, yearning desperately find solace amidst turmoil surrounding them, threatening unravel everything built thus far if allowed run wild unchecked without guidance provided a long way toward clarity sought desperately now. "I don't know if this is right," I whispered, barely audible above sounds, crickets chirping nearby, echoing sentiments shared silently amongst creatures dwelling outside realms known only unto themselves. "But it feels real," he countered earnestly, searching gaze locked firmly onto mine, refusing break contact even though fear coursed through veins, threatening drown out rational thought completely, leaving nothing behind but chaos reigning supreme, ruling hearts still beating steadily despite confusion clouding judgment looming large overhead, casting shadows, doubt creeping slowly forward, gradually enveloping everything once held dear. In that moment, beneath stars twinkling brightly overhead, illuminating paths ahead, uncertain yet tantalizingly close enough, grasp hold tightly without letting go. I couldn't help but wonder how far down rabbit hole willing venture, knowing full well consequences awaiting should light shine brightly upon truth concealed deep inside hearts yearning find connection lost long ago amidst noise, world surrounding them constantly pulling apart, threads woven tightly together keeping families intact, safeguarding fragile bonds formed over years spent nurturing love shared amongst them all. The air hung thick with unspoken words, a tension that seemed to pulse in time with our racing hearts. I could hardly breathe, the weight of what had just transpired pressing down on me like an anchor in turbulent waters. Our conversation had shifted from light banter to something deeper, more vulnerable. In that moment, it felt as if the world outside ceased to exist. "What are we doing?" I finally managed to whisper, my voice barely audible above the distant sounds of the town settling into night. The stars twinkled above us, and for a fleeting second, I wished I could escape into their vastness. "We're just being honest," came his reply, steady and unwavering. His eyes held mine with a sincerity that made my heart race and my mind swirl with confusion. He was right, honesty had become a rare commodity in our lives. But honesty also brought complications. The thrill of our connection filled me with warmth, yet guilt gnawed at the edges of my conscience like a persistent shadow. How could I betray the very foundation of my family? My husband worked tirelessly to provide for us, and here I was, entangled in a web of desire that felt both intoxicating and treacherous. The door creaked open suddenly, breaking the spell between us. A friend from the neighborhood stepped inside without warning, her laughter echoing through the hallway like an unwelcome intrusion. My heart dropped as panic surged through me. We hadn't prepared for this moment. "Hey. Hope I'm not interrupting anything," she called out cheerfully, oblivious to the charged atmosphere surrounding us. "Not at all," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. I glanced at him, his expression mirrored my own fear, caught between worlds we never intended to create. As she chatted animatedly about upcoming community events and local gossip, I struggled to focus on her words. My mind raced back to our earlier exchange, the closeness we shared when our lips met. The memory lingered like smoke in the air, intoxicating yet suffocating. "Are you two okay?" she asked suddenly, concern knitting her brows together as she looked between us. "You seem tense." I offered another forced smile while internally grappling with how to respond without revealing too much. "Just tired," I said quickly, hoping to divert her attention. "Oh. You should join us for yoga next week," she suggested brightly. "It's supposed to be great for relaxation." I nodded absently while stealing glances at him. His eyes held an unreadable expression. Was it regret or longing? The unspoken words hung heavily between us as if they were tangible threads binding our fates together. Once she finally left after what felt like an eternity of small talk and polite laughter, silence enveloped us again. The weight of our choices pressed down harder now than before. "I can't keep doing this," I whispered after a long pause filled only by the sound of our breathing mingling in the stillness. He stepped closer, his presence both comforting and alarming at once. "But you want to," he urged softly, searching my eyes for answers that even I struggled to articulate. The truth was complicated. There was a part of me that craved this connection more than anything else, a chance to feel alive amidst the dull ache of routine life that had settled over me like dust on forgotten furniture. "I don't know what this means," I admitted finally, feeling exposed under his gaze. "It means something real," he replied earnestly before taking another step forward until there was barely any space left between us. "What we have is special." I wanted so desperately to believe him but couldn't shake off the nagging fear clawing at my insides. The fear of losing everything if anyone discovered what lay beneath these fragile layers we'd built around ourselves. "I need time," I said firmly yet softly enough not to push him away entirely. He nodded slowly but didn't step back. Instead, he reached out tentatively as if testing invisible boundaries drawn in sand rather than stone. Time slipped away from us in those moments filled with uncertainty and possibility until eventually it became too tempting, too hard to resist any longer. And once again our lips met in defiance against all reason swirling around us like leaves caught in autumn winds. When we pulled apart breathlessly moments later, both startled by how easily we had crossed another line, I knew deep down that things would never be quite the same again between us, or within myself either. As days turned into weeks filled with secret rendezvous masked beneath mundane family obligations and community events where smiles were painted over turmoil lurking just beneath surface appearances, it became increasingly difficult not only to navigate this delicate new reality but also confront shadows looming ever closer threatening everything familiar around me. Every stolen moment drew me deeper into this labyrinthine path where desire intertwined dangerously with guilt. A place where choices made could lead either toward liberation or destruction depending solely upon how far one dared tread before facing inevitable consequences awaiting patiently ahead. Then came that fateful evening when everything changed. My husband unexpectedly returned home early from work without warning. I stood frozen at the entrance of our living room as he walked through the door just moments after sharing another intimate exchange filled with unguarded emotions. A wave crashing against rocks eroding foundations built over years spent nurturing love amidst chaos swirling outside our window panes. His expression morphed from surprise into confusion, then narrowed suspicion as he took in the scene unfolding before him. Two hearts caught red-handed tangled within secrets hidden behind smiles worn too long now beginning fray under pressure building steadily beneath surface calmness masking storms brewing just out of sight. In that instant everything shifted irrevocably, the fragile piece shattered like glass falling from careless hands. And suddenly choices made echoed loudly against walls once filled only laughter now tainted by betrayal lurking ever closer threatening engulf all within its grasp. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the room. I stirred awake, feeling an unfamiliar warmth beside me. The events of the previous night rushed back, igniting a mix of exhilaration and dread. We spent the night together, and now reality loomed like a storm cloud overhead. I turned slightly, glancing at him. His features were relaxed in sleep, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling within me. Guilt gnawed at my insides as I recalled my life outside this moment, my husband's unwavering commitment, his long hours at work that had left me feeling invisible. Yet here I was, entangled in something I never intended to start. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken words and uncertainties. I slipped out of bed quietly, careful not to wake him. The house felt eerily still as I moved through the kitchen, preparing coffee to steady my racing thoughts. Each drip of the brewing coffee echoed in my mind like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. As I sipped from my mug, memories of our time together flooded back, his laughter mingling with mine in shared moments that felt both innocent and charged with something deeper. But those moments came with a price tag I wasn't ready to pay. The thought of my husband returning home early today sent a shiver down my spine. Suddenly, the door creaked open behind me. My heart raced as I turned to find him standing there, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What are you doing up so early?" he asked, his voice still thick with sleep. "Just making coffee," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. He stepped closer, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You didn't have to do that," he murmured against my neck. A wave of guilt washed over me again as his warmth enveloped me. "I wanted to," I said softly, trying to maintain composure while every nerve in my body screamed for distance. "Let's sit outside for a bit," he suggested after releasing me. "It's nice out." I nodded absently and followed him outside onto the porch where morning light danced across our small garden, a garden we had tended together over the years. The flowers bloomed vibrantly, yet they seemed a world away from the turmoil inside me. As we sat together on the porch swing, sipping our coffee in comfortable silence, anxiety twisted within me like vines choking their own roots. My mind wandered back to last night, the intimacy we shared and how it felt so right yet so wrong all at once. "Do you ever think about taking a trip?" he asked suddenly. "Where would we go?" I replied cautiously. "Anywhere," he said with a smile that made him look younger than his years. "Just us." His words tugged at something deep inside, a longing for connection that had been buried under layers of neglect and routine. But just as quickly as it sparked hope within me, fear snuffed it out like a candle in the wind. "I don't know," I replied softly as silence fell between us once more. After what felt like an eternity of quiet contemplation punctuated by chirping birds and rustling leaves, he finally broke through again. "You seem distant lately." My heart sank. How could he sense it? "I'm just tired," I offered weakly. Is everything okay? His gaze bore into mine with concern that made my chest tighten further. I forced myself to meet his eyes but quickly looked away when panic surged through me. How could I explain what was happening? How could I admit that while he poured love into our marriage with unwavering dedication, I was drifting into dangerous waters? I'm fine, I lied too easily. He sighed softly but didn't press further. Instead, he reached for my hand and squeezed it gently, a gesture meant to reassure but only deepened my internal struggle between loyalty and desire. A sudden noise from inside startled us both. A loud crash followed by muffled voices coming from another room brought us back into reality like cold water splashing against warm skin. My heart raced again as dread settled heavily on my shoulders. What if someone found out? I'll check it out, he said before disappearing into the house while leaving me alone on the porch, anxious thoughts spiraling wildly now without any anchor tethering them down. Moments later came shouts. Voices rising in urgency sent chills down my spine as panic gripped hold once more, the kind that leaves you breathless and wondering if this is your fault somehow or if fate has conspired against you entirely. I stood up abruptly. Instinct propelled me forward toward the door just in time for him to emerge again looking pale and shaken. Noticing something behind him caught my eye too late. There stood another family member who had come unexpectedly without warning. Someone who might uncover everything if they looked closely enough at our faces or sensed any tension lingering between us still hanging thickly in air around us. What happened? I managed to ask despite feeling unsteady on my feet while trying desperately not to betray anything hidden beneath surface calmness carefully constructed over years now threatened by mere chance encounters threatening exposure. There was an accident at work, he replied tersely before turning away slightly toward other family member now entering kitchen area behind them both, confusion mixing with fear swirling within threatening drown all sense of clarity left untouched until now. The morning sun continued its ascent overhead while shadows grew longer across porch steps leading downward toward uncertainty awaiting just beyond threshold where choices made echo loudly against walls once filled only laughter now tainted by betrayal lurking ever closer threatening engulf all within its grasp. The festival buzzed with life, colors splashing against the backdrop of a perfect autumn day. The air was thick with the scent of caramel apples and fresh popcorn, mingling with laughter and chatter from families enjoying their time together. I stood at the edge of the crowd, my heart racing, caught between a sense of belonging and an overwhelming urge to escape. As I wandered through the stalls, I couldn't shake the weight of my choices. Each booth reminded me of simpler times, memories of family gatherings where joy was abundant. Now, I felt like an outsider in my own life. My stepson's laughter echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of what had transpired between us. The thrill that had once felt exhilarating now loomed like a dark cloud over my head. I spotted him across the way, standing near a booth showcasing handmade jewelry. He was animatedly chatting with a vendor, his smile lighting up his face in a way that made my heart ache. I turned away quickly, not wanting to draw attention to myself or to tempt fate further. My instincts screamed at me to walk away, yet curiosity held me captive. Hey! Are you going to just stand there? A familiar voice jolted me from my thoughts. It was a neighbor from down the street, her cheerful demeanor starkly contrasting my inner turmoil. Just taking it all in, I replied with forced enthusiasm. You should join us. We're about to grab some lunch over there. She pointed toward a food truck serving tacos, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. Maybe later, I managed to say before she moved on to join her friends. The festival continued around me as I watched couples and families share moments that felt foreign now. A child squealed with delight as they received cotton candy, another couple held hands while navigating through the crowd. My chest tightened at the sight. It was as if everyone else lived in a world untouched by confusion and guilt. Then I saw him again, my stepson weaving through people toward me. The moment our eyes met felt electric yet suffocating. His expression shifted from excitement to something more serious as he approached. I didn't expect to see you here, he said quietly. I needed some air, I replied, trying to keep my tone light but failing miserably. He glanced around before leaning closer. We should talk. Not here, I whispered urgently. Why not? We can't keep pretending everything's fine. His eyes searched mine for understanding. I looked away, guilt washing over me anew. It's complicated. You think I don't know that? His voice dropped lower as if afraid anyone could overhear us. But we can't just ignore what happened. What happened? My heart raced as his words hung between us like an unspoken promise. Come on, he urged gently but firmly. Let's find somewhere private. Reluctantly, I nodded and followed him toward a quieter corner of the festival grounds where fewer people lingered. The noise faded into muffled sounds behind us as we stepped into an alcove formed by trees and booths. I've been thinking about everything, he started, his brow furrowed with concern. This isn't just some fling for me. My throat tightened at his words. They echoed back all our shared moments, the massages that blurred lines and late-night conversations filled with laughter and vulnerability. What do you want from this? I want you. He stepped closer, his voice steady but laced with urgency. I can't pretend anymore. A flood of emotions surged within me, of fear, desire, confusion, all battling for dominance in my mind. But what about everything else? Your father? Our family? He shook his head slowly as if trying to erase those thoughts from existence. What about you? What do you want? The question hung heavily in the air between us, a stark reminder of choices made and paths taken that couldn't be undone. What did I want? Did I crave connection so desperately that it led me here? Or was it simply an escape from loneliness? Before I could gather my thoughts or respond meaningfully, we heard footsteps approaching, heavy and deliberate against gravel paths winding through the festival grounds. My heart dropped as panic coursed through me. Instinctively glancing toward the sound revealed my husband moving toward us with purpose etched on his face, a sight that sent chills down my spine. What are you doing here? My words fell flat against the reality crashing in around us. His gaze darted between us before settling on our faces, confusion quickly morphing into something darker as realization dawned upon him like an unwelcome shadow creeping into daylight. I came looking for you. His voice was steady but laced with disbelief, a mixture of hurt and anger swirling beneath surface calmness threatening to break free any moment now. We were just talking, I stammered defensively while feeling exposed under scrutiny, the very air around us charged with tension thick enough to slice through silence hanging heavy above our heads like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury at any moment. His expression hardened further, betrayal flickered across his features before he spoke again, words sharp enough they cut through everything else surrounding us. Talking? Is that what you call this? In that moment, the world around faded away, the vibrant festival became nothing more than distant echoes while reality crashed down upon me like waves eroding fragile sandcastles built upon foundations too weak to withstand truth's relentless tide. I stood frozen between two lives, one filled with affection once shared freely now tainted by secrets kept too long, another beckoning forward into unknown territories fraught with peril yet promising something raw and real. As silence enveloped us all, I understood then, the thrill had come at a greater cost than anticipated. Choices made would soon unravel threads binding together lives once whole now fraying dangerously close toward unraveling completely. The weight of my choices pressed down on me as I sat at the kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. My husband had left for work, his briefcase in hand and a distracted kiss goodbye lingering on my cheek. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a message that would never come. The silence of our home echoed louder than any conversation we had shared in recent months. In the depths of my mind, I wrestled with the turmoil of my heart. Each moment spent with my stepson felt like a thread pulling tighter, weaving a tapestry of connection that was both exhilarating and terrifying. I could still recall his laughter, the way it filled the space around us during those stolen moments when we were alone. Yet now, that laughter seemed to mock me from across an insurmountable chasm. As I poured myself a cup of coffee, I heard a knock at the door. My heart raced, part of me hoped it was him, but another part dreaded what that could mean. Opening the door revealed not my stepson but an old friend from town, someone who had always been a source of comfort during difficult times. "Hey there. Just thought I'd check in on you," she said with genuine warmth, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Thanks," I managed to reply, forcing a smile as she settled into a chair opposite me. "Just trying to keep busy." We talked about mundane things, local news and community events, but beneath her cheerful chatter lay an undercurrent of concern. She could sense something amiss, friends always do. As she spoke about an upcoming festival in town, her eyes flickered with curiosity. "You should come," she urged. "It'll be good for you to get out and see people." "Maybe," I replied non-committally, feeling trapped between two worlds, one where I could embrace life fully and another where shadows loomed large over every decision. The conversation shifted back to family matters, my husband's relentless work schedule and how it had changed our dynamic over time. Her words struck chords deep within me, every sentence felt like peeling back layers of denial. "Have you talked to him about how you feel?" she asked gently. I hesitated before answering. "Not really. It's complicated." "Complicated doesn't mean impossible," she countered softly. "You deserve happiness too." Her words lingered long after she left, igniting sparks of contemplation within me. Could I truly bridge this gap? Could honesty bring us closer together? Later that afternoon, as I tidied up around the house, thoughts drifted back to my stepson's last visit, the way he had looked at me with understanding beyond his years during our last massage session together. A wave of longing washed over me again, it was intoxicating yet frightening. A sudden knock on the door jolted me from my reverie. My heart raced as I opened it to find him standing there, his expression unreadable yet charged with unspoken words. "I was in the neighborhood," he said casually, though we both knew better than to pretend this was just coincidence. "Come in," I offered hesitantly, stepping aside as he entered our home, a space filled with memories and tension alike. He settled into a chair while I busied myself with preparing tea, a mundane act meant to mask an emotional storm brewing inside me. As steam curled upward from the kettle, silence enveloped us until he broke it with a simple question: "How have you been?" "Managing," I replied too quickly, avoiding his gaze as if it might reveal more than I intended to share. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes searching mine for something deeper than mere words could convey. "You don't have to pretend around me." His statement hung heavy between us, vulnerability crackled in the air like static electricity before a storm. The memory of our last encounter flooded back, the warmth we shared during those quiet moments when everything else faded away, reminding me how easy it was to lose myself in him. "I'm just confused," I admitted finally, feeling raw and exposed under his scrutiny. His expression softened as he spoke again, "You're not alone in this." The sincerity behind his words stirred something within me, a flicker of hope mingled with fear, as if he understood more than anyone else ever could about what lay beneath my surface struggles. But then reality crashed over us like waves against jagged rocks. This connection came at too high a price no one should have to pay within their own family structure. Suddenly aware of how close we were sitting, how easily boundaries blurred, I pulled back slightly as if creating distance would somehow restore order amidst chaos swirling around us both. "I shouldn't be having these feelings," I murmured almost inaudibly while trying desperately not to meet his gaze directly again lest temptation rise anew within both our hearts once more. "I can't help how we feel," he replied quietly but firmly, a truth neither one of us wanted yet couldn't deny any longer either way. Just then, fate intervened unexpectedly, Footsteps echoed outside our front door, the unmistakable sound belonging solely to my husband returning home early from work without warning. Panic surged through me like ice water coursing through veins. I glanced towards him wide-eyed while thoughts raced frantically through my mind, trying desperately grasping onto some semblance sanity amidst impending chaos looming ahead. What would happen next? Would secrets spill forth like water breaking through cracks in dam walls? Or would silence reign supreme once more? Time seemed suspended as footsteps approached closer until they halted abruptly right outside. The footsteps grew louder, echoing in my mind like a drumbeat of impending doom. I held my breath, caught in a moment where time seemed to stretch infinitely. My heart raced as I exchanged a fleeting glance with him, a shared understanding of the gravity of the situation. The door creaked open, and the world outside spilled into our sanctuary. He stepped inside, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief as he took in the scene before him. The air grew thick with tension, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped us all. I could see the questions forming in his eyes, questions that would unravel everything I had tried to keep hidden. What's going on here? His voice cut through the stillness, sharp and accusatory. I opened my mouth to speak but found no words. My mind raced through a torrent of thoughts, how to explain this tangled web of emotions, how to justify choices that felt both exhilarating and shameful. But nothing came out. Instead, I felt a wave of heat rise to my cheeks as I glanced at my stepson beside me, his expression mirroring my own turmoil. I stammered, searching for an explanation that would make sense of this chaos. Just what? He interrupted sharply, stepping further into the room as if he could force us both to confront the truth. Just having a massage? Or is there something more? The accusation hung heavy in the air. My stepson shifted uncomfortably beside me, torn between loyalty and the undeniable connection we had shared. In that moment, I could see the weight of our secret pressing down on him as well. Please, he said finally, his voice quieter now but laced with urgency. This isn't what it looks like. But it was exactly what it looked like, a betrayal woven into moments stolen from reality. I searched for something to hold on to amid the chaos. Perhaps an apology or an explanation could bridge this chasm between us all. I've been feeling lost, I admitted at last, my voice trembling slightly as I faced my husband. You've been so absorbed in work. His eyes narrowed at my admission, anger mixed with hurt flickered across his features. So you thought this was the answer? To betray our family? The words struck deep, guilt gnawed at me like a relentless tide pulling me under. I glanced at my stepson once more. He looked away, unable to bear witness to this unraveling moment. This isn't just about you, he interjected softly, trying to defend me even as he stood on shaky ground himself. We were trying to find comfort in each other. Comfort? The word echoed in my mind as if mocking me now, an illusion we had constructed together out of loneliness and longing for connection. But it had transformed into something far more complicated than either of us had anticipated. Comfort? My husband's voice rose again, disbelief mingling with fury. You think it's comforting to destroy your own family? I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes but fought them back fiercely. Vulnerability only added fuel to this raging fire between us. I never meant for any of this to happen, I pleaded softly. But it did happen, he shot back bitterly. And now everything is shattered. As those words hung heavily in the air between us, a realization struck me. There would be no easy resolution here, no way back from this moment without consequences rippling through our lives forever. With every passing second filled with tension and unresolved feelings swirling around us like storm clouds ready to burst open, I sensed another twist looming ahead, a turning point that could change everything yet again. In an unexpected gesture, my stepson reached out toward me gently, his hand brushing against mine briefly before retreating again into uncertainty and fear about where we stood now amid all this chaos. Maybe we should talk, he suggested quietly but firmly, his voice barely above a whisper yet imbued with determination that resonated within me deeply despite everything else happening around us right now. Talk? My husband echoed incredulously as if this was absurdity incarnate while glancing between us both. The betrayal evident in his gaze still raw from earlier accusations laid bare before him without pretense or protection anymore either way moving forward together through these troubled waters ahead looming ominously over our heads like dark shadows readying themselves for battle soon enough if not addressed properly first before things spiraled completely out control beyond repair altogether. Leaving devastation behind instead once more too late then finally afterwards reflecting back upon decisions made carelessly along paths taken previously without thought towards consequences faced ultimately eventually down road ahead eventually too far gone. Already lost forever perhaps never able return again afterwards ever since then onwards forward ahead onward towards uncertain futures awaiting patiently ahead still unknown lingering uncertainties lingering still lingering always waiting. Just beneath surface waiting patiently waiting. I can't believe you would even suggest that. My husband exploded suddenly cutting through thoughts racing through my mind now spiraling further downward into despair itself feeling trapped within confines set by choices made earlier together long ago still hauntingly present today casting shadows upon paths taken. Previously leading nowhere good anymore either way left standing here facing one another now amidst wreckage left behind after all these moments passed by quickly gone forever unreturned never returning again ever since then. Onwards forward. We need honesty, my stepson insisted earnestly looking directly into my eyes searching deeply within them perhaps hoping find answers hidden away somewhere deep inside buried beneath layers built up over years spent together living life alongside one another navigating complexities faced daily within confines set forth by society itself demanding conformity acceptance compliance rather than exploring true selves hidden beneath surface waiting patiently longing desperately yearning desperately. Seeking connection genuine authenticity instead. I don't know how, I whispered finally feeling overwhelmed by emotions crashing down upon me like waves pounding against rocky shores endlessly eroding foundations built carefully over time until nothing remained intact anymore left standing strong resilient defiant against odds. Stacked high against us all facing inevitable collapse sooner or later unless acted upon decisively promptly swiftly before too late finally arrives unexpectedly catching everyone off guard completely unprepared unable. Cope adequately deal effectively confronting realities unfolding before our very eyes right here right now. Then let's figure it out together. He urged gently reaching out once more offering solace comfort warmth reassurance despite circumstances surrounding us all spiraling rapidly downward threatening consume everything whole leaving nothing behind except ashes remnants memories fading away forgotten, lost forever buried deep within sands time past long ago never returning ever again. But just then, the door swung open wide once more revealing another figure standing silhouetted against bright light streaming through doorway illuminating scene unfolding inside casting stark contrasts shadows dancing across walls surrounding us all enveloped tightly together caught, unaware unprepared facing consequences looming large overhead ready strike down upon unsuspecting victims caught unaware unprepared. The sudden presence of my husband in the doorway shattered the fragile atmosphere we had created. My heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing in my chest as I turned to face him. His expression was a mixture of confusion and disbelief, eyes darting between us as he processed the scene unfolding before him. What's going on here? His voice was steady but laced with an edge that hinted at the storm brewing beneath the surface. The air thickened with tension, each second stretching into an eternity as I struggled to find words that could bridge the chasm of misunderstanding. I glanced at my stepson, whose face mirrored my own shock. There was an unspoken understanding between us, a shared recognition of the gravity of this moment. We had crossed lines we never intended to, and now those lines were laid bare before the one person who had every right to feel betrayed. Let me explain, I finally managed, my voice trembling slightly as I stepped forward, desperate to take control of the narrative before it spiraled beyond repair. We were just. Just what? He interrupted sharply, taking a step into the room. Just having a little massage session? Just sharing secrets? The bitterness in his tone cut deeper than any physical pain could. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, suffocating any remnants of comfort I had clung to. My mind raced back through the moments that led us here, the laughter shared, the tender touches during sessions that started innocently enough but quickly morphed into something more complicated. Each memory felt like a betrayal now, twisted and tainted by this confrontation. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I said softly, searching his eyes for understanding that seemed increasingly unlikely. You just what? He pressed on, his voice rising with each word. You just wanted someone to pay attention to you? Is that it? The accusation stung like ice water splashed across my skin. The truth of it hung there uncomfortably between us. Yes, I had sought attention, craved it even, but never in this way. The realization hit me like a wave crashing against rocks. I had allowed myself to be swept away by emotions that should have remained buried. I'm sorry, I whispered, feeling small and exposed under his gaze. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? His question pierced through the silence that followed. Raw and unfiltered emotion radiated from him like heat from an open flame. Before I could respond, my stepson spoke up unexpectedly, his voice steadier than mine despite the chaos around us. It was mutual, he said quietly but firmly. We didn't mean for it to happen. My heart sank further at his admission. We were both culpable in this tangled web we'd woven together. The weight of our choices pressed down on me like leaden chains binding me in place. Mutual? My husband scoffed incredulously, shaking his head as if trying to dispel the very notion itself. You think that makes it better? You think that somehow excuses what's happening here? The room felt smaller somehow, walls seemed to close in around us as emotions roared unchecked like a tempest threatening to engulf everything in its path. I could see hurt etched across my husband's features, a deep wound carved by betrayal, and it tore at something inside me. I need time, he said finally, breaking eye contact with both of us as he turned away slightly, a gesture filled with pain and disappointment too profound for words. Where are you going? I called out instinctively, panic rising within me as he moved toward the door again. To think, he replied curtly without looking back at me or acknowledging our stepson standing beside me, an invisible barrier now separating us all despite our physical closeness. Don't leave like this. My voice cracked under pressure, desperation clawed at my throat as I reached out instinctively toward him but stopped short when he paused just outside the threshold. I don't know what else there is left to say, he replied softly, almost defeatedly before stepping through into the hallway beyond and closing the door behind him with finality. The sound echoed loudly in our shared silence, a punctuation mark on a conversation left unfinished and unresolved. I turned slowly back toward my stepson who stood frozen beside me, uncertainty flickered across his expression mirroring my own turmoil within. What happens now? He asked quietly after what felt like an eternity passed between us, each second loaded with implications neither of us dared articulate aloud yet couldn't escape either way. I don't know, I admitted honestly, feeling raw vulnerability wash over me anew. Uncertainty gnawed at every corner of my mind while guilt coiled tightly around my heart, squeezing harder each moment spent lingering here together amidst this chaos we'd created together unwittingly. We need space, he suggested after another pause, heavy with unsaid thoughts lingering just below surface tension threatening break free any moment now if left unattended too long. A precarious balance teetering on edge, precariously waiting for next gust wind blow through, shake things up once more, sending everything spiraling downward again into darkness, unknown territory filled only shadows, memories haunting past choices made carelessly without thought, repercussions looming large ahead, waiting. Strike down upon unsuspecting victims caught unaware, unprepared. As if summoned by fate itself. A soft knock echoed against wooden door, breaking silence surrounding us both, forcing reality crash back down upon shoulders burdened, already weighed down, heavy laden past mistakes made a long way leading directly here, confronting consequences long avoided head-on, finally finding themselves laid bare, exposed, raw, vulnerable, aching hearts yearning healing despite wounds still fresh, open, bleeding freely underneath surface, waiting desperately, bandages applied soothe pain inflicted deep within, souls searching redemption lost somewhere along journey taken, paths intertwined, destinies forever altered, irrevocably changed. With trembling hands gripping tightly onto edges, counter nearby, seeking comfort, stability, grounding force amidst tumultuous storm raging outside. My breath caught sharply, throat tightening, painfully choking back, tears threatening spill over edge, spilling forth uncontrollably, flooding room around, filling air thick, sorrow, regret, loss, longing, desire, connection, yearning, desperately seeking solace, comfort, warmth, reassurance. Amidst chaos, reigniting flames, passion once ignited, flickering dimly, barely holding on to life, fighting fiercely against winds blowing fiercely, trying extinguish flame entirely, leaving nothing behind except ashes, remnants, memories fading away, forgotten, lost, forever buried deep within sands, time passed long ago, never returning ever again.